democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
And welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. Well, the historic string of Democratic primaries ends today with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton facing off in South Dakota and Montana. A total of 31 delegates are at stake tonight. Obama is within just 40 delegates of the 2,118 he needs to clinch the nomination and become the nation's first black nominee of a major political party. He could hit that number as soon as tonight, depending on how quickly he wins commitments from the nearly 200 still undeclared superdelegates.
Tonight's final nominating contests come on the heels of Clinton's big win in the Puerto Rico primary on Sunday. Clinton got 68% of the vote to Obama's 32%. The turnout was low, with just 16%, or fewer than 400,000 Puerto Ricans going to the polls. Puerto Rican residents are U.S. citizens, but are not allowed to vote in the November elections for president. Well, Juan Gonzalez just returned from the island yesterday, where he was on assignment for the New York Daily News. Juan, talk about the whole scene in Puerto Rico.
Well, I think it was actually an unprecedented situation for Puerto Rico in terms of, first of all, I think there were three long-lasting things that came out. One was the enormous attention that the island got, unprecedented, really, in the history of Puerto Rico. I don't think there's ever been that many U.S. and foreign press covering an event on the island, and as a result, the status of the island, its relationship to the United States, the concerns, the economic issues got far more attention than they've ever gotten in the past. So in that sense, the island came out a winner, no matter who was the actual named winner of the primary itself. So I think that that's the one long-lasting. For instance, on Saturday, I was on the Clinton campaign caravan that was winding through all of these towns in Puerto Rico, and there was a huge flatbed truck filled with reporters from CNN and NBC and the Wall Street Journal and so on. And it was really an eye-opener for all of these reporters. They'd never been, most of them, to the Puerto Rico, or at least not to the interior. They may have been to the beaches or resort area, and they really learned a lot about the reality of the Puerto Rican condition, the sophistication, the economic development, and the political divisions within Puerto Rico. So in that sense, it was positive. I think the other long-term impact was obviously that the Hillary Clinton landslide was far bigger than anyone expected. Some of the earlier polls were showing her ahead about 51 to 38, with about 10% undecided. And Obama actually received fewer votes than the polls were predicting. He came in with about 32% of the vote. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that she campaigned heavily in Puerto Rico. Not only did Bill Clinton go down and Chelsea go down, but Hillary spent several days, all of this past weekend and the previous weekend. And as one Puerto Rican politician said to me, you know, if you want our vote, the least you can do is come and ask for it. And Barack Obama only spent one day in Puerto Rico, not even a full day. He didn't do any public campaigning. It was basically a fundraising event. He did do enormous amounts of television, radio, billboards all over the island for Obama, but he didn't really have much of a campaign on that was visible by him coming himself. And I think that, understandably, the vote here was not going to have any significant effect, and I think he'd already decided that the primary was wrapped up. But I think that the campaign made a mistake long-term, thinking about November, because he once again sort of not only failed to change the dynamic in terms of how the Latinos in the United States and Puerto Rico are not voting for him in large numbers, but he actually exacerbated the problem by appearing to just not even care whether Puerto Ricans were going to vote. And remember, a lot of the Puerto Ricans who vote have relatives all over the United States. There are several million Puerto Ricans here in the United States. So I think that even though Puerto Ricans cannot vote, those on the island can't vote in the November election, I think it is going to have an impact in terms of people feeling that he's not connecting and he's not somehow reaching out. He didn't even send Luis Gutierrez, who is the main Puerto Rican leader in the United States,
the Chicago
congressman, to campaign for him as a surrogate. Luis Gutierrez did not appear on the island either, whereas many of the Latino backers of Hillary Clinton Nydia Velázquez, Congresswoman from Brooklyn, Jose Rivera, the chairman of the Bronx Democratic Party, several other New York councilmen, all went down there to help the Clinton campaign. So overall, there's just still this lack of a connect between Obama and the Latino community. And I think John McCain is going to exploit that in the November elections. McCain, of all the Republicans, has the most positive image in the Latino community. In Arizona and New Mexico and Florida, he's going to make major inroads. And I think it's going to be part of the McCain strategy to peel away a significant portion of the Latino vote. Now, interestingly, the last time there was a Democratic primary in Puerto Rico, a full-blown primary, in 1988, the winner was Jesse Jackson. Jackson got 90,000 votes, barely beating Dukakis in '88, who had about 72,000. Simon, Gore, all the others had significant shares. So it is possible if you, but again, Jackson campaigned in Puerto Rico. He went down there. He sought out the votes of the island residents. So I think that Obama has a continuing problem in terms of being able to reach out and solidify his ties with the Latino community. And if he doesn't begin to address it in a more systematic way, I think it's going to hurt him in November.
Now, Puerto Rico is known for huge turnout. It didn't get that big turnout.
Oh, no, that's the third, I think, and the most important, to me, the most important aspect of this. I went to one town, Calle, which is removed from the metropolitan area. It's a mountain town near the southern coast of Puerto Rico. At 11:30 in the morning, halfway through the voting process, out of 3,000 people registered to vote in that one polling place, that one high school, only 150 had turned out. They were expecting maybe 300 by the time the polls closed, which would be 10% of the voting of the registered voters. Now, this you're talking, and this was throughout the island, about 15% of the registered voters participated in this primary. Now, you have to understand, in Puerto Rico, voting is like a religion. 80% of the people normally turn out in elections, and even in primaries, you get 50, 60%. So this was a historically low turnout for an election. And in essence, while Hillary got a landslide, she got a landslide of 15% of the voters. The overwhelming majority did not participate. I think there are two reasons for this. One is there are a lot of Puerto Ricans who feel, well, since we can't vote in November when it counts, why should we then participate in a primary that really is only the build-up to the main event? But the other part of it is the fact that many Puerto Ricans don't relate to politics in the United States. And in fact, the independence movement, which is small but is still influential, called for a boycott of the elections. And on election day, they had perhaps the biggest rally of the entire campaign. Nearly 10,000 people on Sunday marched through the streets of Old San Juan, calling this a colonial charade. The entire process, a colonial charade, and urging people to boycott. So I think the abstention came from two sources. One, people don't relate to it because they're still second-class citizens and don't feel a connection to American politics. And second, the continuing issue that the United States is holding a colony in Puerto Rico, its largest colony. It's almost always ignored, except in times like this. And people were sending a message. You've got to deal with the colony. You've got to deal not with who's the Democrat and who's the Republican, or which of the Democrats is going to be chosen, but what are you going to do about the future of Puerto Rico in relationship to the United States?
Well, at the same time as the Democratic primary was taking place, the Service Employees International Union was